Hey guys, what's going on? Stefan Cyrus of SC Reports. I hope you guys have been doing well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing day one of free agency. We knew a ton of deals were already done before free agency started, and boy oh boy, did we have a few. Now, we're looking at some of the teams that won and lost. Now, there's not a lot of losers just yet because free agency isn't over, but in terms of today, these guys are losers. So keep that in mind. They can get back into the winning circle if they fix things. So we're starting off with the Miami Heat. A+++ for their free agency. Just having a quick look at some of their pickups. They picked up Kyle Lowry in the sign and trade. We knew that deal was happening. Woj reported on it. They retained Jimmy Butler on the max contract. They were able to keep Duncan Robinson on a 5-year, $90 million contract. And most importantly, for the basketball purists, PJ Tucker is joining the Miami Heat. This is a big get for them in terms of defense and corner threes. Tyler Hero struggled at times last year and didn't really look like the bubble self that he did, and now Miami's kind of looking at Tyler Hero like, hey, we see you at Lafapalooza. I want to see you on the court doing what you did in the bubble. So picking up a guy like Tucker, picking up guys like Lowry, retaining Butler and Robinson, these are great first steps for the Miami Heat to potentially get back to the finals. PJ Tucker is a great find. These guys were already very tough defensively. Bringing in PJ Tucker only solidifies how much harder it's going to be to score on the Miami Heat with Erik Spoelstra at the helm, and having Kyle Lowry there, a more reliable point guard there. Goran Dragic kind of has suffered from injuries, which has put him in a position where Kendrick Nunn would sometimes have to play more. So now they don't have that problem, and they have a very tough person in Kyle Lowry. Another big winner is the Los Angeles Lakers. They have done a phenomenal job so far this offseason. We are going to include Russell Westbrook in this, in this little day one, and even though they did get Westbrook before, they still managed to add Dwight Howard, Trevor Ariza, Wayne Ellington, Kent Bazemore. We knew that the Lakers were not going to have money for exceptional players. And this is the best that you can do with potentially just giving out minimum after minimum. Trevor Ariza, he's going to be a lengthy defender, someone that's probably going to have to D up on Kevin Durant a few times, or James Harden to take the load off of LeBron James and crew. You look at Dwight Howard, he was the backup center to help a guy like Anthony Davis not get into foul trouble. He was there to essentially preserve the body of Anthony Davis, him and JaVale McGee. And now bringing back Dwight, and who had a really good season in Philadelphia. This is a great pickup for the Lakers. I'm surprised that Dwight left in the first place, but hey, he's coming back, and that's the most important thing. Getting a very efficient Dwight, and he's been doing well these past 2 seasons. And Wayne Ellington, haven't seen much of his game personally, but I do know he is a potential shooter, and the Lakers are gonna need shooters. Same thing with Kent Bazemore, potentially another good shooter. They don't really have the cap space to go out of their way and ask for a lot anymore, right? You gotta get what you can take, and the Lakers have done a phenomenal job in getting the pieces that they have gotten so far. Also, I'm going to do something here that I'm not sure a lot of people might agree with me, but I'm going to throw the New York Knicks right here. I'm going to throw the New York Knicks in. Look, they were able to bring back Nerlens Noel. He was phenomenal in his minimal time on the court. he was able to get rebounds, he was able to get block shots in his limited time. And I think that is a perfect position for him. They were able to also retain Alec Burke, someone who, you know, when RJ Barrett is struggling, Julius Randle is struggling, he could potentially put up 20. Might not be efficient, but he can score. He can get you some threes as well, potentially some steals. And that's what Alec Burke is there to do. That is a good, option potentially off the bench for these guys. They also retained Derrick Rose on a 3-year deal, and they brought in Evan Fournier. Now, everybody saw what he did to the States in the Olympics, but besides that point, look, this team is going to need a reliable shooter, and Evan Fournier, we seen him when he was on the Magic. He was phenomenal, and he's not going to get the same run, the same amount of touches. So, we're hoping that Evan Fournier can be consistent, while knowing that he's not going to get the 14 shots that he was accustomed to getting while he was in Orlando. And another one, this is a very short one here. I'm going to go with the Bulls. Look, the Bulls have wanted Lonzo Ball, and they've kind of been linked together since last deadline as well. The Bulls have wanted him. They've been pushing for him. They got him in a sign and trade, and they're bringing in Alex Caruso. Now, we meme Alex Caruso, but he is still a very good player. Lonzo Ball, especially last year, was starting to show true promise, especially from shooting from downtown. I think that's something that, we have gotten on Lonzo for, and I think he's kind of seen Melo get his run, and he's like, hey, wait a minute, I'm the older brother. And he has improved tremendously over this last season. So I'm very excited to see what he can do there with Zach LaVine. I know he's also in talks about an extension with the Bulls, and Vucevic. This team has some really solid players now, and with Lonzo at the helm, I'm hoping that they can take that next step, and I know that's what the Bulls organization is looking for in Lonzo Ball. And 3 other ones, these ones are shorter, so I'm just going to kind of bullet point them here, is the New Orleans Pelicans getting a sign and trade for Devontae Graham. Now, everybody knows that the Pelicans wanted Kyle Lowry, right? They wanted a veteran guard to kind of come in, teach Zion the way and kind of lead this team, with Brandon Ingram as well. That didn't happen. I thought that would mean the Pelicans would try to retain Lonzo Ball. Turns out they don't want to keep him after all, and they're moving on from Lonzo Ball. And they're bringing in Devontae Graham. Now, before Melo came in, Devontae Graham was doing phenomenal, right? But then you get a chance to get Melo, and you see what he was doing in his rookie season before he got hurt. He's not going to get the reps that he was getting before Melo was there, all right? I think that's fair to say. I think everybody can admit that. So, this was probably the best move for him. There was also not going to be cap space for him in Charlotte as well. If I've done my research correctly, there wasn't going to be enough cap space to keep him anyway. And I'm pretty sure he wouldn't want to take a back seat to Melo, right? I'm also going to name off the Jazz because they retained Conley. This was very easy for the Jazz. They were in a position to win. Unfortunately, they choked it. But they couldn't lose Conley. He was a big piece to what they were doing. They're obviously going to continue to manage his hamstring, which has been very difficult for these guys. Kind of taking back-to-backs off, but ultimately retain Conley. You still have a really good team. Let's see what they do with the rest of this, trade deadline to try to get better. And the Cavs. Why? they retained Jared Allen on a 5-year, $100 million deal. Now, previously, Jared Allen was linked to possibly joining Toronto, but he decided to stay. He's getting great money, and him, Evan Mobley down low, listen to me. That's scary. That's very, very scary for any potential team to, go down there and say, hey, I'm going to drive into the lane. You go and think twice, right? Both of these guys, I expect them to get. Jared Allen, he usually hangs around a block and a half, 2 blocks a game. And Evan Mobley, pretty sure defense is going to be there right away. This is going to be a team where they're going to have a really difficult time driving and getting points in the paint. And the Cavs have done a phenomenal job not only drafting Evan Mobley, but retaining Jared Allen. Now, let's talk about losers. Like I said, there's not a lot of losers yet, and these guys can get back into the winning category, so keep that in mind as we go forward. So, first loser, Toronto. You lost Kyle Lowry, and that's tough. I'm a Raptor fan. It's a tough day to be a Raptor fan. We don't have a veteran guard now in this locker room. We don't have a veteran guard in this locker room right now, and I think that that's going to be a problem going forward. Pascal Siakam's either going to have to step up, or we're going to have to try and find someone to kind of come in and keep us together. We're really going to see what kind of franchise player Pascal Siakam is now. We all knew this was Kyle Lowry's locker, right? We could show and pretend that, Pascal Siakam was the top guy, the franchise guy, which he was, but everybody knew this was Kyle Lowry's team still. He's the GOAT, the greatest Raptor of all time. So we're going to see the captain skills of Pascal Siakam, see how he deals with now having to potentially now be the voice of this team, not only playing on the court, but also being vocal in the locker room with his teammates. Another loser, the 76ers. They brought back Korkmaz, a really good shooter. They need that, obviously, on a Sixers team with Ben Simmons. But that is also a reason I'm putting them as a loser. It seems that the Sixers want to trade Ben Simmons really badly, but they have to be realistic about what they can get for Ben Simmons. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the problem right now with this team, that they're not being very realistic about what they can get. So, look, you lost out on Lowry, you lost out on TJ McConnell, you lost out on Devontae Graham, you lost out on a ton of very solid point guards that can not only play make, but shoot the basketball. You've lost out on a lot of people and a lot of kind of top guys, if you want to say, that can get you good pieces for Ben Simmons. I'm not sure what's out there right now that could be a very good package for the Sixers to get for Ben Simmons, but as we look at it right now, the Sixers waited too long if they were going to trade Ben Simmons. I don't think they're going to do it. I just don't see what's out there now that day one's done, and Conley and Butler and Duncan and all these other guys have settled in to new contracts, especially Lowry. There's nothing out there for them right now. So we're going to have to see what the Sixers and Daryl Morey tries to pull off. Another one here is the Dallas Mavericks. They lost out on Lowry, lost out on Devontae Graham. We knew that they were looking for a point guard, a playmaking point guard that can score the basketball as well, or a potential veteran point guard. Now, Toronto did trade for Goran Dragic. I don't know if that's the way Dallas is gonna look at and say, hey, Toronto, probably know you don't want to keep that, Do you want it? You know, that kind of makes sense to me a little bit, but ultimately, you lost out on Lowry. You lost out on some other really good potential point guards to take the weight off of Luka Doncic. And you're not off to a good start. You did re-sign Luka Doncic to a big deal, and that is good, but you need to figure out what's going on there in Dallas. You need to figure it out. You know what I mean? So that is that for Dallas so far. These guys can get back into the winning circle. They did retain Tim Hardaway Jr. as well, and I believe they traded for Miles Brown before the draft. Not Miles Brown, Moses Brown, correct? And he's a promising young big. We saw what he did really late in the season in OKC. He was getting like 20 and 20. There's promise there. You don't get 20 and 20 by accident a few times. So I think that there's real promise there. I think that is an amazing get for Dallas. They traded with the Boston Celtics for him, and we're going to have to see how that goes, right? And the last loser is the Milwaukee Bucks. Yes, they won the NBA championship. They should be ecstatic about that. However, they lost PJ Tucker. And as we saw in the finals, we saw in the playoffs, we saw against the Nets, PJ Tucker would usually guard the best player on the other team. PJ Tucker made a lot of shots difficult for Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant still did Kevin Durant things, but he made it really difficult for Kevin Durant. He made it difficult for whoever he was guarding, and that took pressure off of Giannis. These guys are going to have to go out there and find a potential wing defender 3-and-D replacement immediately. They lost out on Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza is going to the Lakers. So we're going to have to see what they do to make that work in Milwaukee. Those are my winners. Those are my losers. Let's see what happens on day 2. I'm very excited to see what's happening. I'm hoping to get some predictions up when, free agency is done as well. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave it a thumbs up and let me know what you think of free agency. Any big surprises? Is everything kind of going the way that you thought it would? Let me know in the comment section down below. Share this with a friend. And guys, I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.